Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope your Christmas season so far is great and it's not too cold, just the right amount of cold. And this week we're going to be talking about peace because it's week 2 of our mini kind of Advent overview mini study thing. Peace is a word that comes for a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people. But for you, you might think of a calm sunny day or a quiet snowy night, or maybe it's gentle laughter with family, or maybe it's a walk on the beach. Maybe it's a state of being like financially stress-free, or maybe the kids aren't shouting all the time. That's all we want, is just some peace and quiet. And for a lot of us, peace and Christmas, we think of that kind of quiet night, but peace as it relates to the Christmas story is actually a lot different than that, and it's surrounded by a lot more darkness in a way. When we think of peace, it's usually a state of being that is being as comfortable as possible, as serene as possible. And it's tough to have peace of mind when it comes to finances in general, but especially in Hawaii, and at least it is for me. I don't know about you. Maybe your financial life is completely okay, but at least for me, it's definitely something I worry about a lot. And often I don't have peace in my life until I'm stress-free from my finances, especially when I try to approach it on a very practical, do-it-myself way. And the peace of God kind of strikes at the heart of both the peaceful night and the inner life of our brains and our hearts. In the scriptures, you might have heard of the peace that is beyond all understanding, and that's, one might say, mystical in a way because we don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. When you try to go at it alone outside of God, peace is an elusive thing. It's a state of mind that is there for a little bit, but it doesn't seem like it actually changes too much about reality. However, when our peace is anchored in the promise of God throughout history and into the future, it's a lot different than just releasing stress in the moment. It's a kind of letting go and a joyful trust in what God will do. Peace in the middle of the darkness is kind of like saying you can take it to the bank that God will make everything right in the future and that He cares and He loves me. No matter what the circumstances are, I know that God is looking out for me. While we see Jesus as the ultimate peacemaker here on earth, are we willing to join Him in being peacemakers, even when it costs us? And you notice that, ironically, peace costs a lot for people, especially if you want to be peacemakers. So notice that when we say peacemakers and talking about this idea of peace, it's not about being right, it's not about being understood, and it's not about being popular. It's the peace that comes in the middle of all the darkness, all the turmoil in the world and in our hearts. It's a confident expectation, as Eugene Peterson says, that God will do what He said He will do. I love this quote from Jean Vanier, who says, "Do we understand God's vision for humanity, or are we just closed up in our own little worlds? Can peace come? Is there hope for Kosovo, Israel, Palestine, Iraq, or Northern Ireland? Is there hope in this world where the gap between the rich and the poor is growing daily? Is there hope? Yes, there is. There is hope because God is. God is." So how do we invite this peace into our life that is kind of intermingled with hope? At least for me, we have to begin by asking God for help. If this peace doesn't come from ourselves, but it comes from a perspective that we are following God and we're copying our Lord Jesus, then we have to ask for help. We have to ask for that, to kind of invite Him into our hearts, into that situation, and ask Him to bring peace even when it doesn't make sense. Let's begin by inviting God into our struggle and help us understand His hope for us. I wrote this very simple prayer, and you can say this every morning just for the week. Just try it. I've been saying this for the last couple mornings, and it just goes, "You are my light. Today, Lord, let that be enough." Peace is just holding on to the light that's already there, is looking towards the light. While that might seem very simple for any situation you're in, I do know that praying to God to ask Him to be our peace in this situation is a way of inviting Him into our struggle, and that's what brings peace. And so I hope this is helpful for you. Hope this moves you to begin to pray this every morning. And if this is awesome, let me know if this has changed anything for you or any kind of questions you might have about that. And I'll see you really soon. Aloha.